Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Then check out bundleselect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Save on real estate, lending, and title. With bundleselect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling all of these services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. By bundling services like real estate, lending, and title, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Act now, and this new model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit bundleselect.com. That's bundleselect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that continue to follow the show on Facebook. We are streaming live. We try to do that every single show. Be sure to continue to do that. If you want more information, the best thing to do is go to RERL-1504-Evaluating. Be sure to download the podcast. That way you could follow the show, listen to the show at your convenience whenever you'd like. For the last almost 8 years now, our focus has been education and information. We'll continue to provide that to you, the consumers, and have great guests like we have today, good content, information. The ultimate goal is what we have. Our objective has been the same for almost 8 years, and that is really to educate and inform the consumers so that you make wise decisions in and around your real estate, whether it's buying, selling. We're going to be talking about insurance today, a number of different things that are all related to real estate services, and so we'll continue to do that. Lastly, if you need to reach me during the week, 408-838-9060, or you could always email joe at reradiolive.com. All right, let me invite my guest in, Laura Peterson, who is in Insurance and Financial Services, Inc. She's kind enough to spend some time with us. She's been on the show before, but it's been a while, so it's good to have you back, Laura. Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
She is the insurance expert and also some financial services, but mainly today we're going to talk a little bit about insurance, specifically homeowners insurance, what you need to know. We're going to get into a little bit of earthquake and fire, hazard. There's so much that is involved with insurance, and I'm going to let the expert talk about it, of course, and there's just so many little things. And before I get into that, because we could talk for hours about it, but before we do that, Laura, if you could just take a minute to give the listeners an idea of your background and then kind of currently what your roles and responsibilities are in your insurance services, that'd be great.
All right. Yeah, I'm a local insurance agent here in Los Gatos, and I've actually had my agency for about just over 11 years now. So we help a lot of residents with if they're buying a house and they need to insure their home, and naturally we end up helping them with things like car insurance and a liability consultation to make sure their liability is protected. I run a team of licensed agents as well, so we have a team of people that can help 24/7, and we love what we do.
And you guys do a very good job at it, that's for sure. Great
you.
Team of people. Do you kind of give us an idea of the area that you cover, Laura? I mean, I know your offices are in Los Gatos, but do you cover kind of the Bay Area, or does it depend? How does that work for your group?
So insurance licensing is by state,
okay.
So we can help people anywhere in California. It tends to be people more in the South Bay area that call us, highly concentrated in kind of Los Gatos, San Jose, Campbell, Willow Glen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's talk first a little bit about earthquake insurance. It's funny, we don't think about it until they happen, just like the fires and all that. We'll get into a little bit of that, but was it in 1989, I believe, and we had the major earthquake. Then everybody talked about it. Then time goes by. No one really thinks about it. Give us kind of your thoughts, first of all, on earthquake insurance. Has anything changed in it? I know there's typically a high deductible. What is your kind of recommendation in and around earthquake insurance in general? Maybe give us a little update on what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Well, my first recommendation would be if it's something that you don't have but are curious about, call your insurance agent and get a quote because there have been changes. Or if a lot of people tell me, gosh, I used to have it and then it got really expensive, so I dropped it. So there have been changes, I would say, just in the past couple of years. And a lot of the major insurers go through California Earthquake Authority, which my company does. So, one of the big changes, it used to be your deductible could only be 10 or 15% of your coverage amount, which can be quite a high deductible. If you're insuring the house for $500,000, that means your minimum deductible is
10 or 15%?
If we did 10 or 15%,
okay, so
$50,000.
Yeah, right.
Now you can choose a deductible of anywhere from 5% minimum up to 25%. So it gives the consumer more options. If you want to control your premium a little more, maybe you choose a higher deductible because you still want coverage but don't want to pay quite as much, or you don't want to have your out-of-pocket be quite as much. You might choose a 5% deductible. So that has become more enticing to consumers, and I think they made those changes based on feedback from consumers. So we were pretty excited about those changes.
Yeah. One of the things that come up a lot in my business, we help people with residential financing. Typically, if they haven't financed in years, or maybe they haven't, one of the typical things we see is they remodel or they add on, and they don't think about the insurance. Talk a little bit about, that's one of the things that comes up all the time, and I don't think people think about anytime they make changes, right, or refinance, it comes up and we'll say, well, the lender's looking for additional coverage. We don't quite, well, what do you mean? And I'll typically say, when's the last time you refinanced your house? Well, it's been about 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about that, because that comes up a lot, it seems like.
It does. So in general, you want to make sure that your replacement cost is adequate. Right. A few years ago, I used to say, and I would talk to local contractors, and I would say, you should insure your house for, generally speaking, $200 to $300 a foot. And we have a calculator we use that gives us the exact amount. Now, I feel like that's changed a lot, and we're seeing, especially more in the Bay Area, something closer to $300 to $500 a foot. So just cost of construction increasing has made it so that we want to be revisiting what we have. However, like you mentioned, if you have made changes to your house, enhance it in any way, add it on, put money into your house, you definitely want to make sure you call and assess what your coverage is, because if there's a fire, you want to make sure you have enough money to pay a contractor to rebuild it as it is today with the improvements that you've made. Right.
Now, Laura, would that also include, obviously when someone pulls permits, that's kind of a big signal. They're going to do something different to a house, expand it, grow it. Would this also include, let's say they didn't pull permits, but maybe they put in a new kitchen and spent $50,000, $60,000 in new bathrooms, or maybe, I don't know, things like that? Would you encourage people still, any kind of major changes like that?
Absolutely. Let's say you were insuring the house for, again, $500,000, and then you put $50,000 into it. Well, it might make sense at that point to insure it for $550,000. Okay. So any kind of significant changes like that, when you're putting money into the house, upgrading it, it's just good to check and if needed, make changes.
Very good. What are the things, I'm trying to think of the things that we come up and we see a lot. Flood insurance is an issue that comes up. Sometimes it surprises people. Sometimes it surprises, why do I have flood insurance? And then a lot of them, I hear that, after a certain amount of years it drops off if there's not a flood. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's something that comes up from periodically, too.
Yeah, we generally go off of the direction of the banks and the lenders. Okay. When they tell a client, you need to have flood insurance because you're considered to be in a flood zone, that's when they generally call us and ask for a quote. And if they have an elevation certificate, which sometimes they might get a civil engineer to go out there and do one, or sometimes they decide to wait and get one before the first year renewal, that can help the premium, not always. So there's a lot of changes in that industry that we're even having a hard time keeping up with it. But what we find is most people don't do flood insurance unless it's required. I'm not so much saying that you shouldn't have it unless it's required, but that is the trend, is unless the lender's requiring it, people tend to not be quite as worried about it.
Okay. We're going to take a break in a couple of minutes, but before we do that, the big topic over the last year or so, the big fires in Napa and Sonoma and all those different areas, devastating, obviously. And again, no one thinks about this stuff until it happens. Yep. I don't know if lucky's the word, fortunate, not sure. Timing is everything in life. But, some people in the Midwest and the South, they deal with hurricanes and floods and tornadoes. Out here, we're pretty fortunate, right? We have the earthquakes every once in a while. And then, of course, unfortunately, we've had these recent fires. What kind of lessons would you share with people today saying, You know, we're seeing what happens. Someone homes, unfortunately, tragically, lose their home to a fire. What kind of advice or information would you give people? God forsake that doesn't ever happen. Mm-hmm. But if it does, some of the things to think about on a major tragedy like that with your home.
I think it's a good idea. I think one of the biggest inconveniences after the fire, there's two that are coming to mind, but one is, what are we replacing? You know, the insurance company generally isn't just going to say, okay, you had $200,000 in personal property coverage. Here's a check for $200,000.
I see.
Usually it's, you know, do a home inventory, give us a list of what you had, we'll cut you a check, you know, we'll slowly send you money so that you can replace your belongings. And it's not easy. And so, you know, going through each bedroom, cupboard, closet, garage, and just taking pictures and keeping those somewhere safe, that can make the claim process easier. That would be one thing, kind of doing a home inventory and just keeping it somewhere safe. Secondly, knowing what your loss of use coverage is with your insurance company. So the policies that we offer, if someone is displaced from their home after a fire, which we know a lot of people from those fires still are because their house is being rebuilt, for how long will your insurance company pay you for you to rent somewhere else while you still may be paying your mortgage? So is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Is it, for us, it's 24 months? So kind of knowing if you have coverage in that area, and if so, what does that look like? That's a pretty big one that we don't really think about until we need it.
Okay, very good. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. In studio today is Laura Peterson. She's with Insurance and Financial Services, Inc. She's today sharing information with us primarily about homeowners insurance, coverage, fires, earthquakes a little bit. When we come back, we're going to talk about who needs insurance, what kind of coverage you should have, and much, much more. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. For those that are watching us on the live feed of Facebook, stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Then check out BundleSelect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Save on real estate, lending, and title. With BundleSelect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling all of these services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. By bundling services like real estate, lending, and title, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Act now, and this new model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004-66902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Anyway, we're back with Laura Peterson, kind enough to spend some time with us today. She's with Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., talking about primarily homeowners insurance, and we discussed a little bit in the first segment homeowners as it pertains to fire, earthquake, and just some basic coverages and things to be aware of. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about maybe some life insurance, also auto insurance, and some liability coverages, umbrella policies. Before we do that, Laura, if you could give the listeners, if someone's out there and they want more information about you, your services, how you might be able to help them or answer any questions, what's the best place to reach you? How do they do that?
Sure. Call the office at 408-395-2900. My website is laurapeterson.net. So either of those, we'd love to hear from you. Very
good. Life insurance, boy, that's interesting. There's so many different moving parts with life insurance. The typical question, Laura, comes up is there's different types, right? And then who needs it, who doesn't need it, how long do I need it? Mm-hmm. There's universal, there's term. So maybe a good place to start is talk about the different policies or the different coverages maybe, or life insurance policies. And then we could discuss a little bit who might be the candidates for those different types of policies.
Okay. Well, I'll first talk about the thing that always comes up for us initially is kind of work life insurance, having it with an employer or having it personally. And most people that work for a large company have some form of life insurance at work. Sometimes it's a lot of coverage. Our general recommendation would be not just to rely on that. Number one, we find that it's usually not enough coverage. But an even bigger thing is it only covers you, in most cases, just while you work for that employer, which is why it's so inexpensive. So our thought is to lock coverage in at your current age, so as young as possible and as healthy as possible outside of an employer, so that regardless of where you work, how much coverage you have there, that you have something locked in personally. Okay. So that's kind of the first thing that comes up a lot.
So on policies, typically I look back when I know it really didn't come into play for us all of a sudden. It got up on the radar when we had our first child. We started thinking about, okay, if something were to happen to us, you know, what do we need? What kind of coverages? We have a home. We have 2 homes. All these different stages, I guess, right? I mean, it just depends on people's needs, what the potential loss could be, what kind of issues around it. So you guys probably, I'm guessing people come in, you have consultations with them on these types of matters, and you just kind of work through with them. Each person's different, I guess.
Yeah, we really try to customize it. We do get calls where someone says, give me a life insurance quote over the phone, and we generally just don't do that because it's similar to putting together a mortgage for them. It's not a quick 5-minute deal for us. It's a come on in. We're going to sit down and customize it and go over a couple of different things to help you determine how much coverage you need. And so we have a process where we do customize it for the client to make sure we're recommending the appropriate amount of coverage. Okay.
As life insurance, obviously the coverage will depend typically as you walk people through it, right? What type of liabilities, assets, all those types of things that come into play. Has it changed? It seems like over the periods of time, has it got more reasonable, less expensive than it has in general over the years?
That's a good question. I think generally it has. I've been an agent now for 11 years, and I think the costs have trended down a little bit because people are living longer. Yeah. So looking at mortality tables, I think the actuaries have figured out the costs have gone down a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. And the different types of policies people hear about, typically are the 2 primary types term and what is the other one, universal, or
term and permanent insurance, and then within permanent there's usually 2 types, universal life like you were saying, and whole life. Yeah.
Can you kind of break each one of those down and talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, so term is essentially kind of what you have at work, except for that you can lock it in, you know, for instead of just while you work for that employer, you can lock it in for 10, 20, or 30 years. And so that usually just fixes the rate for that period of time. So you have that coverage for that period of time. And that's pretty common for young families, people who've just bought a house and they need to get usually a large amount of coverage locked in for a set period of time. Permanent would be where the rate that you get today is locked in, essentially, especially if you're doing whole life at today's age, today's health. And that policy essentially is there forever. There are forms of permanent or whole life insurance where you don't pay forever. I like that concept a lot. So you can pay for it for 10 or 15 or 20 years and then you're done, but then you do have the coverage forever. Whole life policies function more also like a way to save money for the future. There's cash value that grows inside of it. Again, a reason that we like to really meet in person because it's fairly complex. So whole life and universal life are just kind of 2 different types of permanent coverage.
Okay. One of the things, and we're going to talk a little bit about auto insurance too and umbrella policies, but, you know, I always like to hear how businesses have changed and how you adapt. And so the question is just similar to mine, yours, you know, there's so many changes. There's online insurance. There's instant quotes. We could go on and on and on. If someone's out there, again, what I always like to just bring it down to the common sense of the consumer, they're trying to get insurance. They're trying to figure out who to work with, Laura. Who do I trust? This is a big deal because, you know, insurance, again, is one of those things. Yeah, sure, you could just call a 1-800 number, but who are you talking to? Who are they representing? Is it a contract person? Are they brokering this? I mean, there's so many questions. What advice would you give a person that's seeking any kinds of these insurances? Auto, homeowners, life. How do they know who to trust? You know, do they call some people? Do they get referrals? Do they use the big name insurance companies? What would your opinion or feedback be on that?
Well, always you can look online, like it or not. People have the ability to go online and write reviews on local insurance people or online companies. So that's always a good place to start. Ask your friends that you trust the most that maybe have similar consumer habits as you. Maybe if you're more relationship based, ask your friends that have similar expectations of you who they use, and do they like them? Why or why not? Have they had a claim? How did that experience go? How was the claims process? How was doing business with them? So I think that was the place to start. And then talk to a few different companies. And I would say the main thing is don't base your decision solely on price. You may not be being quoted the same coverages. I would say base it on the responsiveness, because that's probably going to be similar responsiveness when you need things. Look at the whole situation and what your experience is like, but and talk to multiple people before making a decision.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the relationship is a big deal. I know some people don't put a big stake in it, but I think in something like insurance is another big example. I had a personal experience myself. I was with a company for years. It was fine. But then, every once in a while you think, am I getting a fair deal? Is the coverage right? And there was actually a friend of mine in another insurance company, and I won't use any names, of course, but switched everything over, and the rates are very similar. But then the next year, all of a sudden, I get my renewal policies, and they're all just completely changed. And I called, I said, what's going on? Well, we kind of got you in. And I guess, I don't want to say it out now, but it was almost like a bait and switch type thing, right? And that when you said this relationship and be sure it's not just, you really have to be careful. Someone's relationship, the reputation, the background, right, the reviews you talked about, those are really important.
Yeah, and it's funny, I have not had firsthand experience with this, but when I have a client who's like, hey, my rate went up a little bit, I'm going to shop around, I tell them I've heard over and over about what you just said happening, and I think that some companies, we don't, and I don't know for sure, but may have like a new client discount that drops off after 6 to 12 months, because I'm seeing that where people leave, and then they come back 6 months later because their rate went up. So I don't know, but you have to be careful about that kind of stuff, definitely.
Yeah, that's a big deal. How about, let's talk a little bit about auto insurance, another big one in California, challenging state for many different reasons, high cost. Looking for auto insurance, what types of things, again, would it be the same relationship? Make sure you're working with the right people. What kind of coverages? What kind of recommendations on the auto insurance? Or is that, again, just such a personal, individual thing depending on each person's situation?
It is. I think one of the number one things that we like to talk to people about when they ask us for a quote, and that's probably out of all the things we've discussed, the most commoditized insurance, where people kind of are just like, give me a quote. I want, what's least expensive. And, we're talking about big things can happen when you're behind the wheel. So one of our big things is making sure that when we're doing a quote for you, that we customize it to your level of income and assets, and making sure those are protected. If you were to get in an accident that you're at fault for, somebody else is injured, maybe they can't go back to work because of their injury, maybe somebody passes away. Big things. So your level of liability coverage matters a lot, and that's something we really like to customize for the person. Yeah,
it makes sense. It's not a popular topic, but boy, I tell you see it all the time. This whole distraction while driving, now the texting and the iPhones are just become such a big problem. Are those situations where people are actually personally responsible if they get in an accident? It's deemed that they were texting or do something like that while they're driving? I know you're not an attorney, but are you seeing more and more of this kind of stuff?
We're seeing it more and more. Industry-wide auto insurance rates with all companies did go up this year, including, the company that I work for. And when you read online about why, and we get information from our company about why, a lot of it has to do with accidents being at an all-time high, largely due to distracted driving.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're seeing it a lot more. I do think that if there's a claim where there's proof that someone was on their phone, that definitely plays in. I have heard, I don't know for sure, I know typically if you had a cell phone ticket while driving, it wasn't chargeable on your insurance, but I heard a few months ago they were looking at making it so that it affected your DMV record and your cost of insurance, which probably should if that's what's leading to so many accidents. So I'm kind of curious to see what the future holds there.
Yeah, all right. We got a couple more minutes. Before I do that again, I want to talk a little bit about umbrella policies and kind of that type of coverage. Before we do that again, if someone wants to reach you, they want more information, what's the best place to do that? How's the best place?
Just calling the office would be great, 408-395-2900. Our website is laurapeterson.net.
Very good. Umbrella policies, those are common typically, if I'm understanding them right, and you're the expert, but you look at holistically, kind of look at what everybody's doing with their, their entire life, their liabilities, their businesses, everything. And then is this kind of where an umbrella policy comes in? Talk a little bit about how those are structured and how they work and who might be the ones that should be looking at those.
Yeah, typically when we're deciding if someone needs an umbrella, we ask them questions about their income and assets. Mm-hmm. Typically any homeowner, especially in the Bay Area, needs an umbrella. It's essentially excess liability coverage. So your auto insurance, if you're at fault for an accident and you were sued, you have coverage on your auto insurance that would be the first to pay. If that's not enough coverage and you have an umbrella, let's say you have a $1 million liability umbrella, that would be the next policy that would kick in, and it covers, attorney fees, and if you were found, legally liable and negligent, that's where the umbrella policy kicks in. So the goal of it really is to protect your assets, so at no point are you having your wages garnished or losing your house because you were sued.
Yeah. Lastly, technology seems to be changing just about everything. Not that it's going to change overnight, but I always like to find out when I have the experts in the studio, how's technology changing your business for you and then for your consumer? Is it there's more apps, there's more information, so it's more confusing to people? How do you see technology playing into your business?
I would say yes and yes. Some good things and some things that make it more confusing. Definitely the expectation is people want things quickly, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we are good with that. We always help people log on to their accounts online. So if they're, if it's 9 o'clock at night and they need a insurance document for mm-hmm. their refinance they're doing with you, yep. They could log into their account and pull it off so that they don't have to wait for us for the next day. So that's something that people find convenient. A lot of things are done over email. There's different mileage programs where you input your odometer online to help, get a discount. So in general, it's a good thing. It definitely increases the pace in which we do things. It increases expectations for how quickly we do things. But I think it's mostly a good thing, especially if you have the option to speak to a live person but also go online.
Yeah, very good. All right, we're just about out of time. Again, Laura, thanks for the time. It's always good having you in studio, keeping us updated, giving us consumers all of our education information. Laura Peterson, again, kind enough to spend some time. If you want more information, she's also on our website under insurance programs, and that's RERadiolive.com. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in today. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.